Shalom, everybody. This is Dave from Universal Truth of Mankind. I am your host, and this is Kabbalah 301, where we go even deeper within Kabbalistic concepts. Today, we're dealing with the idea of milk and honey, the land of milk and honey. This is repeated several times within the scriptures. We ended up not we say focus on the phrase, but we in particular did use Deuteronomy 6:3 as our reference point, though not limited to that. Now, I want to make sure you understand that I am on both YouTube and Rumble, so please subscribe to both of those. That way, you can ensure yourself better chance of getting videos at either one. Now, please like and share these videos as well. They are free, and I'm trying to just get information out to help people, so especially in these times where we have a lot of hope in the future, so we have to prepare ourselves for that situation. Also, look down below in the description. I have all my playlists there. So you can go down there. You can look at previous videos on Kabbalah 301, 201, and also 101. And you can also go to Meditation 101. Pretty soon, I'm going to be adding a Meditation 201, which is more advanced. But stay tuned, keep an eye out, enjoy. This video was very enlightening, very enjoyable, and you can see us synergizing on a lot of thoughts and ideas. And we're here to serve as an example, not the end all of conversations. This is just to get you into a direction and hopefully encourage you to do so. If you have questions or topics you'd like us to maybe cover, just leave it down below in the description, in the comments, and we will, if it's, we will try to put it into some of our programming. If anybody has a topic that they would like to actually discuss with us offline, not expecting it to be broadcast, please feel free to reach out. Okay, and we can work with you. Take care, everybody. Shalom, and enjoy this video, the discussion ahead.
You had a chance. I did put out there, I think I did, right? The verse for milk and honey.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't know if you had time or not, but
Is it Deuteronomy 26:9?
I believe I put Exodus in there, but it doesn't matter. It's still the concept of milk and honey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did.
So, well, we saw this, the land of milk and honey, and we know that land in Torah does not always mean physical land. It can mean Malkut, and the Shekinah, glory. So if it's a spiritual land, and what's spiritual milk, spiritual honey? Um, we can derive from a physical sense what milk and honey is. Milk is mother's milk. It means there's a obviously there's not a fertility issue. That there's a lot of birth, there's a lot of procreating, and so on and so forth. And the honey obviously means that without the bees, they've said that if we didn't have bees, the world would disappear in like a week or something like that. So they're so necessary for pollination, so on and so forth. So we understand it from a physical sense, but I figured, hey, very, very few people look at it from a spiritual sense. Um, I figured I'd take that approach, but bef I don't know if anyone else, I shouldn't do this, but started so quickly. But I mean, was there any other things we needed to clear up or talk about before we went into this?
Not from my end.
Ross always has questions and stuff, so.
Hmm. Well, I can give you a little contribution on the milk and honey.
All right, Len, let's start with the milk and honey. Go ahead, Ross.
On the spiritual level, like you were saying, I've only heard this from one source. I'm not going to vouch for the credibility or not lack thereof, but his explanation was that when we go into meditation, And if it's done properly, you work your way up the chakras, and then the third eye is enlightened, male or female. Once that's done, once the body secretes a fluid, if you will, that permeates the body. In females, it resembles milk and it dribbles back down the chakra channel. In males, it resembles honey and it dribbles back down the chakra channel. So therefore you have the milk and honey, the male and the female, the spiritual aspects of meditation, enlightenment, chakras, that sort of thing. That was just his contribution.
Interesting little thought that maybe we can plug in. Yeah, all right. So Tom, the
Oh,
enlightened one.
no. Well, I looked at the passage, and Haaretz is contains two letters at the end of the word, and the last letter is Sade 900, and Resh would speak to me of the cosmic container. So it really is actually pointing to, in my own study, the land is actually a state of consciousness in which humanity is going to reach, and also the whole cosmos.
It,
All creation is going to be doing that. I mean, Haaretz grammatically can mean something different, but it speaks to me of universal life and the power of Aleph permeating the whole cosmos to bring about a final completed act, final Sade, which is number 900.
well, what's interesting about that, Tom, is that we benching, when you do benching, you're not blessing the food per se. You're blessing the source of that food, which
Mhm.
is the land, or the Eretz. It also it refers to us as being the mediator. In other words, God blesses us, and then we bless the earth, so to speak.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that fits right in line with what you're talking about, where it's a source of life, and we bring life to it as well. But anyway, I wanted to kind of like create a little more holistic picture. So go ahead, Tom.
On Mel Lalab, it would be uh, three letters, consists of three letters. It was actually life again, which it would be in modern Hebrew would be um, pointing to a definite article or an indefinite article, but I actually see the letter He as signifying universal life. And the next letter in milk would be Lamed, which the ox code, which speaks to me of a directed energy input in life. And the last letter, Vet, without the Dagesh, means to me, it says that in universal life, there's a directed movement that's actually taking its course in and through containers. So it seems to imply this well, whatever divine substance you can get of it, it really is the nature of existence, and the energy that is being portrayed within us is actually permeating our consciousness and is being expressed through our consciousness, or the letter bet would be all forms. It spoke to me of an energetic formula not being any special entity, but it really, and if you could say the milk, I pondered milk and its universal application, but I just had the tendency to just step away from it and see, okay, life and universal life of Hashem is actually being directed in us and in all the containers, vet, but it's not actually just residing there, but flowing through the containers. So it is a special infusion of life that's being directed in and through us. The honey is an interesting Yudavash. It is actually an impregnation, Vav, Dalet, and Vet in Sheen. It actually was speaking to me of not just a literal sense of honey, but an impregnation that is actually uh, affecting a resistance, Dalet, that is actually flowing through containers, and that impregnation flowing through containers and the resistance, creating a resistance, is actually involved in the last letter Sheen with the Dagesh on the right side, is involved with universal movement. So it was an impregnation that's affecting all vessels and is actually taking place in universal movement. Sheen, bringing things to a 360-degree circular emphasis. Sheen, with the other letters, they add up the gematria of it, and it comes to 360 degrees. So I looked at the text and the words used, but I feel like there's more of a general emphasis on just the movement of energy, and so did the translators choose the word milk and honey? uh, Maybe it's a coded language for a general sense of the flow of universal energy, the energy of the creator in and through uh, those particular designated words, milk and honey, to bring the land, which is a land, and the land being the last letter, which would be the final tzade, a sense of internal and external completion. So sorry to be so detailed, but
No, 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 that's okay. I was waiting to see if come around, and actually you've done that for me. Now, real quick before we go any further, I noticed Ross is missing. He'll probably come back, but I wanted to ask you, which verse were you looking at for this?
I was in Deuteronomy 26:9.
26:9, you said?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it shows up. The whole milk and honey shows up. I believe it shows up in Exodus as well. Well, it does show up in Exodus, so it does appear a few times within Scripture. But anyway, um, so the translation as far as into milk and honey, which are English words, may not necessarily be an appropriate reflection of what the words actually mean, is where you're going with this.
Yeah, yeah. I have a tendency to approach all of the Torah now with from the standpoint of the letters and the energetic equations and formulas. And one of the things I have to do is to disconnect from the translations
Right.
and translated words to be able to flow with the energetic movement, which brings me into another corral of understanding and not so much being tied to the word milk and honey and land. It makes it to be a whole new experience and kettle of fish in approaching the Torah.
Okay. Wow. Um, let's, all right. Oh, my lighting's so horrible here. One day I'm going to get this lighting figured out.
Ross is in waiting. He's
There
waiting
he
to
is. There he is. He's back. Okay.
Ross.
Yep.
I
He said he had a power outage.
okay. Well, he's a powerful guy.
You back, Ross?
Yeah, it was a brief little
Okay.
power outage.
Okay.
All right. Thankfully, it was only um, brief, but I did record it all, so you can
Right.
catch it.
With reference to the milk, David, all forms in life are expressing the directed movement of the letter Hey. It's a directed movement in all forms of life, and not necessarily a particular one particular entity, but it really is flexible to look at it outside of the box of the translation or the literal translation, and to be able to see that this life of Hashem is actually flowing through us, and not only through us, but to us. So I get a picture of Ross and you as being the milk and the honey, and it's coming forth within you or in all particular forms. But
So,
the emphasis of the Lamed is actually in the archetype of Hay and Vet are actually on an archetypal realm, but it ties it down into the middle letter Lamed, which means it's within existence. And so when you analyze Lamed and Vet, you have a whole you'll end up with a holographic image of all the rest of the letters that are making up those two letters to give you a complete picture of what milk actually is energetically, and not so much tied into the word milk.
so if you were to, what for an average person, that includes me, was to read the text in English,
Yes.
and I come to the word milk, and I say to myself, okay, I know it means something more than or something different than the word milk. What would be an appropriate word or words or phrase that I would stick in place of that word to give me at least an inkling of a deeper understanding for
I would
milk?
I would say, just in my studies so far, and I'm not an expert, but I have had a hard time finding right one word, because it's a mountain of attributes.
Well,
And
I realize it's definitely you're describing a iceberg, you only see the tip.
yeah,
You don't see
yeah.
everything underneath. But what would be that tip? What would be, it could be a couple words, but what would that be tip would look like?
Spiritual nutrition.
Okay, okay, that would be good. That would be good.
Okay, so is it spiritual nutrition in the simplest of sense? Because it's a milk versus like meat?
It could be the
Or
whole idea of
source?
the letters. Our English language
Yeah.
interject a concept, but the letters are actually different. They have a different phonetic value, and in English, you can take one word and assign a meaning to it and interject a meaning to it, but the letters are actually portraying to us the whole essence they're atomized, if I could say. They're atomized.
So could I say spiritual milk? In other words, add the word spiritual in front of it and use the concept of milk that we understand it as, it's something for a baby, it's something for a child, it's a starting point of nutrition. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you can use one word, but in that particular word, there's a number of letters to actually convey
Right.
an idea. And then that's the difficulty of it, because the finding the right word, I have people ask me, "What does this mean?" And they'll say, well, the translation will say this, but boy, I'll tell you, it really is monolithic. It's a paragraph or even a page to describe the processes that are actually taking place within each and every one of these equations. And I'm sorry, I can't, I have difficulty explaining things. I can't just explain it with one word. I have to explain it with a paragraph, which,
Okay.
uh, okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a matrix.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a matrix.
yeah, it's a multi-dimensional word. It's not just a flat word like, oh, milk. And that's the problem with the translators of the Torah. They really are commentators of Torah, translators. They're not really translators because you can't. You- oh, you want to read the Torah? Okay, what do you want to read? I want to read the first chapter. Okay, here's this 23 volume set that deals just with the first. That's the way this is. It's way beyond. So there's a lot of depth to this. Okay, so milk. Okay, so it's the idea of receiving energy permeates our existence. Um, so it's sort of like a spiritual milk. It's not a very good thing, but at least it starts the mind thinking, oh, there's more here than meets the eye. So what about honey then?
Yeah, that is Udabash. It's really interesting. It begins with the Bob, the letter Bob, which to me speaks of a fertilization or an impregnation of the next letter Dalet, which is actually the resistance that is in containers is actually flowing is actually the flowing through of this energetic uh, impregnation is flowing through resistances and containers, which is all a part of universal cosmic movement, which
Okay,
is the
Tom.
letter gene. Okay.
Tom, let's stop right there. Wow. Okay. I just want to say the Vav usually means and. It's a
It it
connector.
it,
So
it is. It
could you
is.
could you say that milk and honey are connected? Like they're really not like two separate things connected, but they are two parts of a whole?
Yes, and that would be connected with the land, which is Haaretz. And it's interesting that milk and it begins with the letter Hey, and Haaretz begins with the letter Hey, but it really, to me, speaks of universal life, universal life.
What the
And
heck?
when you try to define universal life, you can't really define it. You just have to experience the flow in our existence through us, to us, and through us.
So
So, okay.
the hay in front of arets, I
Yes,
have heard some say you can view it like a uterus. It's like you don't know what's before the hay, so to
that's
speak,
good. That's
but you
good.
know what's after the hay, so you know it's a uterus that's producing something. So
That,
haaretz means it's producing the land. So we know that everything has a soul, whether it's a still vegetative animal or a speaking soul. Now, so there's a source of life which would be the milk and the honey, would be the source of the would come together and impregnate the land.
Mhm.
Am I right?
Yeah, the letters are saying that universal life, Hey, and the next letter Aleph is a projection and an impre is a flow of Aleph in the cosmic container Resh to bring things to a final completion, final Sade. The elements of that experience and that wonderful, blissful experience is the energetic flow and impregnation of the honey, which,
So what you're
yeah,
saying is that at the end, everything will be corrected. And we need that milk and honey to come into the land, so to speak. And what we see now, we're just in the middle of the process of correction. So we will we will eventually become what we're supposed to become. It's inevitable, correct?
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
the energy of the land uh, is adaptive and transforms when it meets resistance, in the honey.
When you
That
mean transformed, it's sort of like you take clay and you mold it with your hands. Your hands are providing the resistance to mold the clay.
And another way to say that then is that this impregnation of honey is meeting the resistance within us. It has to meet a resistance, but it transforms the resistance in containers, the next letter vet, which flows through it and contributes to the 360 degree of sheen, universal life, cosmic life.
So you could also say that muscle without bone would have no form, no use,
Yeah.
no capability. But if you have bone without muscle, you also have so you combine the two, the muscle gives the resistance. I'm
Uh,
sorry, that the bones give the resistance so that the muscles are useful, but it also needs a resistance from the muscle in order for the bones to be useful.
all life and
Mm.
the impartation of Aleph is useless without a particular form. As a matter of fact, the letter Tav, and I'll throw this in there, the letter Tav is the cosmic resistance to the two flowing energy of Hashem from Aleph to Tav and from Tav all the way back to Aleph. It mirrors Aleph in all of existence, and so, but you cannot have cosmic movement until you have a cosmic container, which is
Right.
Resh,
Yeah.
Yod, and Sheen.
So the creator made creation
Yeah.
and then it put a soul into it
Uh-huh.
so that it could become something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just it's
Wow.
it's a big piece of wonderful juicy cake with all kinds of ingredients of the other letters pertaining to honey and
So
milk.
yeah, so in terms of honey, I know you said it started with evolve and all that. That's what started this little
Yeah.
tangent here. But I was wondering, in terms of honey, what would be a more appropriate word or words that would be at least a tip of the iceberg to understand what's really being stated versus what they translated as honey?
I think, well, it's maybe Ross, excuse me, maybe Ross would come up with an appropriate word. I still have a tendency to think of multi-level, multi-level
Yeah, I
term.
know. You have a tough time pulling yourself out. It's like it's in your mind there, but it's like, how do I put it into such simplistic words like English?
It's it it really is a formula of how energy adapts and transforms itself. And when it encounters a resistance, And
Okay,
then
so then I would have to ask them, what is milk and honey as far as complementary? I mean, obviously they're both connected and they're both necessary. So can you come up with an idea of what we call milk and honey? Not milk and honey, but milk and honey together as one composite word. What would be a possible word or a few words?
it's a difficult
Mm.
thing to do because it's an experience. The letters are projecting in us and through us a movement. That's why you mentioned to me a book, God is a Verb. It's projecting more a movement, and the embracing of these letters creates something within us and transforms us into a finality, the final sade, the land. It is a project.
Oh, so you're saying like we can say haaretz and how we talked about how things are supposed to turn out. So we can
Yeah,
look at the milk and honey as being that formula to make that happen.
oh, exactly.
Oh,
It's a contribution. It's all a contribution to finality because the
I
final
see.
sade is obviously made up of the letter Dalet.
Now, well, I have
I
to
mean,
explain to, I
it
have to,
all
ex-
fits. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just have to explain to everyone what a zadi represents. A zadi represents like a person laying on its side. It's a resting type position, and it's also the character that's used for the word that's typically translated as a righteous person. As so so you could say it's projecting a righteousness, a correctness, a proper finality, the perfect form. So I just wanted to explain that to help
The
people put these pieces together. Continue time, you're doing a great job.
A vertical uh, sade is a feminine structuring energy, in my opinion, and how I'm seeing it. You move vertically from tet to sade number 90 and sade 900. Tet is a feminine structuring energy, but it speaks of a cellular development that becomes manifested into existence, and it takes on temporary forms.
So you're
Sade,
saying that the final zadi
yes,
is feminine.
it's a feminine structuring energy that leads to a beauty, Malkut.
Otherwise, it is male. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't have the one without the other, but the emphasis, the overemphasizing in the feminine structuring energy from Tet moves us into existence. I see Tet as an archetype, and then it moves us into the realm of existence, into this physical realm, and can actually speak. Sade number 90 can actually speak of all of the forms in the physical, but actually they're not completed and perfected because the feminine structuring energy in the final sade, represented by the number 900, is actually pointing a to a cosmic completion energetically of Malkut, and it's feminine in nature. It's an impregnation of Vav taking place within Tet, the archetypal realm of Hashem, and then is actually taking place in existence, and then is takes on a cosmic value of this perfected feminine energy. Oh, I'm not being too clear here, but
No, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Trust me, you're hitting on a lot of good things, and it's funny as you
And
hit on more things. My brain is going into my thinking is going to um 92,000 directions. It's like you say, it's like a three-dimensional thing. It's not a horizontal plane where you go left, right, or whatever, or you go back or something. Now you're going left, right, back in three dimensions.
exactly,
Like
and it's
exploding. Wow.
a holograph. It's a holograph because every letter
Yeah.
that has every letter that has other letters to define it. It's holographic in that all the letters are actually, and it's a unity. It's a unity. So when you take these formulas and you break them down, I'm seeing multi-levels, and you can't really adequately define the formula land or haaretz unless you describe what is underneath it holographic, because every letter is contributing to the whole, and it's multi-level, it's multi-dimensional. It's just absolutely astounding.
It's
Which
the quantum field.
exactly, Ross, exactly,
Substitute the word land for quantum field.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
So is
Now,
there,
re-say what you said using field instead of land.
A quantum field. It's a part of a field. It's field dynamics. It's spiritual field dynamics on a quantum level. That is why classical physical speech and definition is outdated. It is just the surface level. It is the letter of it. But the spiritual aspects of these things are defining a land which goes above and beyond our understanding.
Field.
A field. Every letter contains a field, and
so
when you insert a number of letters in a particular formula, you are talking about a convergence of all kinds of fields of energy to contribute to the overall sense and flow of
so
that particular word.
now you got me thinking again, not just you haven't been, but so we're using the word field, quantum field for
Yes,
haaretz. Now, like I said before, haaretz is like the the uterus producing the land. It's the
yes,
beginning you don't see before. So something's
yes,
creating the quantum field. So we
yes.
got the milk and honey creating the quantum field. So are the appropriate words now thinking that way for milk and honey
Mhm.
creating the
Yes.
quantum field?
Yes. Yes. That
Yes,
is an
go for it.
environment. That is an environment. Milk and honey create an environment.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Holy.
When you and I have written the formula, I not only do I write the letters in the Hebrew, but I also write the formulas of each and every letter underneath it, and it fits together. Oh, it's just huge. It's monolithic, and it helps me to describe what is actually being described here without the interjection of commentaries, and is it really is an entity field of energy which includes other fields of energy to describe the overall sense of that field. Oh boy.
So, Tom, I got to say this to you. What insights we're getting from this, and it's bearing that quantum physics is not nonsense.
It,
Quantum physics is only we're only starting to, I'm going to say it this way, rediscover
yes,
what we knew thousands, if not millions of years ago.
yes,
But now it's starting to come back. So we're starting to make a full circle,
it is.
which
Let's
is,
just,
yeah, go ahead.
can we say that we've been misdirected?
Yes,
Yeah,
by
it's
by the those in control, the how would we say this? Those behind the scene, the puppet masters, the
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it. Yes, I I see it clearly now.
the thing that is a real joy to me is that it's no respecter of persons, that it belongs to everybody. And we
Mm.
are part of the mystery of this language. We are part of the mystery. And to make contacts with so many books when in reality the Aleph Beit is actually before us describing Yitzhira, the formation of everything.
So you're saying, in a sense, a book it can give you a distance between the source
Yeah,
and
it's
yourself.
like a waste of time to,
Well,
you
it
know, in
it
a
could
sense.
it could right in a sense. It is a waste of time if you use it as an ends of your meat, if you use it as the end. But if you use it as a means, like we do with the Zohar, to reach into towards the branches to the roots, then it's a helpful thing because now it's a tutor, a guide that's trying to get you to the source. Now, Tom, I know we cut out this middle section here. Great information. But I want to step back and mention how you were saying that this is not this spiritual enlightenment, we'll call it, is not um, prohibited from anybody. Uh,
Absolutely.
you can't say, "Oh, I am a descendant of one, two, and three. Therefore, I have access to this, and I'm privileged." And I'm no, has nothing to do with those that physical ancestry. Um, um, you maybe can say a soul ancestry, but still, all this information, all this stuff we're talking about is for anybody and everybody. Now, the only thing is you have to ask for it. So it's there for everybody, but not everyone wants to take it, is what we're saying. So
You're absolutely correct
yeah,
because they're boxes, the containers, the bets, the and thoughts and ideologies are containers and prohibit one from actually moving through some of the straitjacketed resistances that are there within traditions and within rituals and on and on and on. And it can be, these things can be, the trainings can be uh, uh, prohibit would prohibit one from actually allowing the energy of Aleph to flow through our container. I always say one has to ride the Aleph,
yeah.
the energy of God, and to see, or Hashem, to see where our Creator leads us. And there's the life death process of all things when Hashem
So
wants to expand our bound.
right. So the Aleph is the beginning of the path, the beginning of the journey. The Tav is the end of it, and then you cycle back.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
Aleph is all possibilities.
absolutely. Matter of fact, Aleph Lamed Fe, in
I'm
my
sorry. I'm
interpretation,
sorry. It's. Let me explain to this. I'm sorry. Aleph is the potential for all possibilities,
yes,
and what prevents what shapes and forms all those possibilities into what it's supposed to be is the resistance of
exactly.
the Hebrew characters in your
The
journey.
Tav represents the cosmic tabernacle, cosmic resistance.
Well, I'm going to share something with you, Tom, because you touched on this. I know we can probably talk for dozens of hours on this. Uh, I mean, everything just what you're bringing up, let alone my fanciful mind that goes, 20 different directions at once also. Um, when the the pandemic hit, call it what
Hmm.
it is. I'm not going to fear it. When that hit, I was ousted from the synagogue I used to go to.
Yeah.
And the synagogue basically said, unless you have proof of fact of the V, um, you would not be able to attend our services.
Okay.
So I said, number one, that's unconstitutional.
Hmm.
And I said, number two, we as a family will leave and take us all off of all your rolls
Hmm.
because they like charity and stuff like that. And so they did that. And I had to admit, since that time, I missed going to services. I missed being part of a community and so on and so forth. They didn't want me, all because I didn't have the V.
Yeah.
So it's only now that I'm finally starting to divorce myself of all those traditions that you talked about, those hang-ups, those straitjackets. I like your choice of words. Um, to remove all that. And now I'm looking at everything I did and I want to do from a whole different higher level, which in a sense means I don't have to perform these physical acts
Yes.
in many cases. For like wearing tefillin, you don't have to wear a tefillin.
Yes.
Prayer shawl, you don't have to wear a prayer shawl. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not precluding, but I gotten to a point where like it's part of me now, but it's part of me at a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm much happier now. And I look at my fellow participants and I'm like, you guys totally miss it. Totally lost it. You're going down the wrong rabbit trails. You're on the wrong path. So I wanted to share that because that's because you mentioned straitjackets and I think people need to hear that religion is a straitjacket. I don't care which religion you choose. I don't care which one you choose.
True.
I don't care
That
which sect of it is or denomination. It doesn't matter. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
it's
Ross.
like you were saying earlier. You were using it as an ends rather than a means.
Hmm.
You can see that now.
Yeah, yes,
I,
exactly.
Good point. Good point.
I mean,
I,
I'm even to the point where I read the Torah and I'm like, these are just words. What does it really mean? That's where my brain goes now. And I'm like, the person getting the pulpit and speaking has no clue what they're talking about. That's where I'm
right.
at in this whole thing. Ross, continue.
Okay. Tom, correct me if I make a mistake along the way.
You're doing fine.
You were saying that the energy flows through all of the containers.
Yes.
That would I equate that as being our what we think of as our corporeal physical body.
And our spiritual body as well.
Correct. So one within the other. The
Yes.
container. Okay.
Yes.
Reish is the head.
Well, I tell you, that is the traditional approach to it. But if I can interject something,
Sure.
if you look at the Hebrew letters vertically in line, you'll move from bet or vet, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference because the if the dagesh, and I have not seen this but I can sense it. The dagesh in the middle of a container means that the energy flows through it and stops. But if the dagesh is missing, the energy is flowing through it. Okay, so that's on one level. That's bet. Now, if you look down on another level, the level of yod, 10 through 90, it vertically is in line with the letter calf, which is a willingness and openness to receive that energy and whatever comes. And when you take it a step further on a cosmic level, you end up with Resh, which is the cosmic container. The cosmic container. So I'm familiar with the traditional teaching, but I just have a hard time with actually saying what is really happening here on a cosmic level.
Right.
And Resh contains Yod and Sheen. You can't have cosmic movement without a cosmic container. So we're moving in a expansion from the archetypal realm of Vet to Kaf on an existential level, and then to a cosmic level, which is Resh.
Okay. Thank
It's
you.
just a perspective.
So let me modify my language. Removing the dagesh is like removing the blinders,
Yes, very
taking
good.
taking away the straitjacket, the religion, the whatever.
Yes,
Now the energy can flow freely.
yes,
Okay. This, in a sense, transforms the field.
exactly.
You now have the proper environment so that you can move freely within the field and
It's
because you're aware of it. When you come into contact with others that are in on that awareness level, if you will,
yes,
it begins to resonate
yes,
and amplify.
yep.
And when that resonance and amplification starts to take place, it modifies the 3D reality that we're within.
When you say resonate, you mean resonate in harmony, correct?
Yes,
In sympathy, sympathetic resonance. Okay.
yes. Um, resonate meaning, yes, it's in harmony, but it amplifies. That was my other word. It amplifies and grows larger and more profound. And because of that, that's what affects this side of creation. We've now let the flow through.
Exactly. Another way of looking at that is Hased and Guvero, and it creates another form. Uh, it really is about creating different fields and a combination of forms. On a quantum level, it gets to be pretty deep. But you study quantum mechanics, and you'll find that, boy, this is just it's spiritual dynamics, spiritual energetic dynamics, which is phenomenal.
So are we saying that, I'm sorry, Ross, are we saying that quantum physics or quantum thinking, I'll use it, is a manifestation of spirituality?
I I believe so,
Okay.
and beyond,
So in
beyond.
other words, even quantum physics is a branch from the root of spirituality.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. If you really, and I have studied a lot of this stuff in depth, you end up being in other dimensional awareness. You can, all the dimensions that exist that have been are being spoken of in Kabbalah are actually other dimensions, but need to be tied down to the expression of the energetic flow of the letters, because it applies, the letters apply on all levels, including quantum. And you end up getting the whole thing of string theory and torus, superposition. I mean, all of this stuff actually are actually. I would say that the oh, and I'm going to say it. You can filter it, but it's the Kohanim are actually defining quantum realities, this true spiritual reality, energetic reality. If you look at the first three words of Vayikra, Leviticus, it describes and just in a short summary, the first three words actually describe a reduction of the power in the first letter. The first word actually is reduced to the third word, which is the exercising of power to the least amount of power, which that third letter, that third word begins. is centered around the letter Mem, which is Moshe, because the letter Moshe is actually a minimum state of energy which is being arisen from the first two words that precedes it in the first chapter and verse of Vayikra or Leviticus, is actually a statement of energy coming through the leaf point, Moshe, Mem, and then expanding that into a universal Sheen, which was the last letter of, which is one of the letters of Moshe in life. So we have an energy flows to the weakest minimal point to be able to bring stasis, an equilibrium, which is being described in the tree of life between Chesed and Guvaro.
Okay. There's a lot you said there, but I want to focus on one tiny little sector of it, and then I gotta let Ross talk, because I think he has something to say. What the reality is, when don't we have something to say? Um, so you could say light
Or,
is the fast. No, 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 no. Hear me out here.
yeah,
In the physical universe, light is the fastest thing that exists. In the metaphysical universe, which is where quantum physics would reside, is to
yeah,
is what I'm getting, thought is the fastest thing.
exactly.
And then the fastest thing above that is spirituality. So, so I'm thinking of the four worlds. Absolute is stable, doesn't move, it's there. And then you go to the next level is Berea. It's almost like you're talking about the the spiritual emanation type of a thing. Yetzirah is almost like the metaphysical type, and Asiya is almost like, well, it is the physical.
Mhm.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because it's helped me get better, because this has been an endeavor of mine for a long time, is trying to understand the concept of time. So you're starting to touch on it. I'm sorry I had to share that. All right. I don't think I could do any more with that right now, but Ross, you're next.
Don't get me started on time.
Well, we're getting short on time, guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so far, everything that you're saying lines up with other avenues of thought that I've been exploring.
Mhm.
They're confirming one another. There's no contradiction here, no battle. And to a point, it's like, and I believe this is part of what you said earlier, when this harmonization starts to take place and it begins to resonate and amplify, it's going to be impossible to stop the effects of it. This will be that transformation that we will reach in the end.
Yeah.
The Tav, I believe, is what you said, when it all comes to completion. As far as Aleph to Tav and recycling, those are reincarnations and on one level. Okay. You keep coming back through this until you finally realize there is one creator, one essence, one source, and we're all a part of it. And when up and until the point when you lose that selfishness, the self-centeredness, and flip and say, oh my God, I can't judge anybody. I can't hate anybody. I can't even think a negative thought because the creator and the creation are inseparable.
Yes.
You just succinctly described what Kabbalah is about.
Mhm.
Okay.
that is the thought that permeates Hinduism, Buddhism, and some other religions. Not that I'd like the word religion, but that, that's our cognitive ability. But it comes to the point to where uh, I heard a beautiful verse. I went back and started trying to rewatch an old TV series called Kung Fu.
Yeah.
I
I
picked
remember
up
that. With what's his name? Kane. Yeah.
David Carradine.
Like
Yeah.
Carradine. David Carradine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, I stopped on this one particular episode and I watched it. And I don't care about the storyline, right? I'm just waiting for those little nuggets to drop. Grasshopper, right? And there was one quote where he was having a discussion with the old man, the master, whatever. And he says something to the effect of he's questioning evil, right? Bad things. And his response succinctly was, you cannot defeat evil in the world, but you can overcome it within you.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
That's really good.
That's a good one. Actually, that's a good place to stop.